Have you ever performed an act of kindness and felt a sliver of something else? A cold, sharp thrill of power? Have you ever looked at the world, at the smiling faces and the pristine Instagram live, and felt like you're the only one who sees the rot underneath? Have you ever stared in the mirror and felt a stranger staring back? A creature you keep locked in the basement of your soul, feeding it scraps of rage and shame? Have you ever wondered if the very idea of being a good person is the most sophisticated cage ever built? Of course you have. And what did you do? You reached for the usual bullshit. You tried meditation. You read another vapid self-help book telling you to practice gratitude or embrace your authentic self. You tried to plaster over the cracks with positive affirmations while the foundation of your psyche was turning to dust. You've been sold a lie. A 2,000-year-old lie. The lame-ass fixes fail because they're designed to patch up the symptom, not cure the disease. They are tranquilizers for the soul, designed to keep you numb, tame, and mediocre. Here's the uncomfortable truth. That darkness you feel, that monster in the cellar, that's not a bug in your system. It's the fucking operating system. The problem isn't that you have a dark side. The problem is you've been castrated by a morality that told you to hate it, to fear it, and to deny its existence. This isn't about self-improvement. It's about self-excavation. It's about digging into the filth until you hit bedrock. If you're done with half-assed solutions, if you have the stomach to face the monster you really are, keep watching. Forget every philosopher you've half-read. Most of them were cowards, polishing abstract concepts in their ivory towers, terrified of the mess of real life. We're not talking to them. We're talking to a man who considered himself less a philosopher and more a psychologist, a man who claimed he had psychological antennae that could feel and grasp every secret, a man who could smell the truth. Friedrich Nietzsche. And he left us a warning, a breadcrumb trail leading into the labyrinth. He who fights with monsters should look to it that he himself does not become a monster. And if you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you. This isn't some edgy quote for a tattoo. It's a diagnosis. It's a surgical instruction. The abyss isn't some spooky void out there in space. It's inside you. It's the primordial chaos of your own soul that you've been taught to ignore. Nietzsche described it with brutal, biological honesty. He talked about the inmost core, the entrails of every human soul. He talked about the concealed filth lying at the base of many a human character. Think about that. Entrails, filth. He's not being poetic. He's giving you a metaphor that bleeds. He's telling you that your personality, your conscious mind, your civilized self, it's just a thin layer of skin and muscle stretched over a roiling, messy, hidden machinery of guts and organs. That's the abyss. It's the ugly, primal, power-hungry engine that actually drives you. And for centuries, we've pretended it doesn't exist. We've been convinced by a conspiracy of thought, started by Plato and perfected by Christianity, that this world, this flesh, is just a cheap imitation of some perfect, real world. A world of forms, of goodness, of God. A world where truth and beauty and justice are clean, pure, and separate from the muck of reality. Nietzsche called this what it was: cowardice, the inability to face reality head-on. This cowardice, this Platonic poison, has seeped so deep into your bones you don't even recognize it. It dictates who you admire and who you despise. Let's run a diagnostic. Think of the great heroes. Who do you instinctively respect more? Achilles, the demigod of the battlefield, a raging bull of martial prowess who meets his enemies head-on. Or Odysseus, the master of tricks, the man who won the Trojan War not with a noble charge, but with a lie, a wooden horse, a surprise attack under the cover of darkness. Be honest. A part of you, the part conditioned by 2,000 years of moral programming, recoils from Odysseus. You see him as a cheat, a liar, dishonorable. The Romans did. Dante threw him into the 8th circle of hell, the circle of fraud, to burn for eternity. Our entire culture is built to praise the noble but doomed Achilles and condemn the cunning but victorious Odysseus. Why? What changed? The pre-Platonic Greeks, the culture that Nietzsche saw as healthier and stronger, worshipped Odysseus. They admired his capacity for lying, for cunning, for terrible retribution. Why? Because they hadn't been infected yet. They hadn't been taught to separate the world into neat little boxes of appearance versus reality, or truth versus falsehood. For them, a lie wasn't a sin against some cosmic capital T truth. A lie was a tool, a weapon, a demonstration of intellectual power in the real material world, the only world that mattered. A trick wasn't cowardly. It was a mark of superior intellect. To them, our modern obsession with fighting fair would seem insane, a form of self-sabotage. They lived in a world where results were all that mattered, and Odysseus was the man who got results, no matter the cost. Then Plato came along and drew a line in the sand. He built a fantasy world in the sky, the world of told everyone that our world, the world of blood and dirt and sweat, was a cheap knockoff. He invented the supreme good, and suddenly, truth was good and lying was bad, not because of their practical effects, but by divine definition. Christianity just slapped a new coat of paint on Plato's prison and called it heaven. This is the deeper wound. This is the source of the infection. Your mind has been shackled to a phantom reality. You've been taught to value an abstract goodness over concrete power. You've been taught that your base instincts, your drive for dominance, your selfishness, your capacity for what lesser men call evil, are a sickness to be cured rather than a strength to be harnessed. This is where Nietzsche drops the psychological bomb that shatters the entire foundation. He issues a dare, a dangerous perhaps, that most philosophers were too timid to even whisper. He asks, what if the value of all your cherished, good things, truth, selflessness, virtue, is a sham? Worse, what if their only real value is how they are insidiously related, knotted, and crocheted to those evil and apparently opposed things, perhaps even in being essentially identical with them? Read that again until it burns a hole in your brain. What if your goodness is just a mask for your evil? What if your truth is a sophisticated lie? What if your altruism is the most refined form of selfishness? This is the abyss gazing back. Every psychologist before Nietzsche, and most after, ran aground on this single, terrifying reef. They built their theories on the lie of opposites: altruistic versus egoistic, pleasure versus pain, love versus hate. Nietzsche cuts the anchor. He calls the ego itself a supreme swindle, an imaginary concept. He calls our entire moral framework a set of blunders. You think you pursue happiness? Bullshit. You pursue power. You think love is unselfish? That's the most terribly nonsensical lie of all. Love is the ultimate act of possession. It's a desire to increase your own power by seeing yourself reflected in another, by making them a part of your domain. You think you help the weak out of compassion. You do it to feel their dependence. Every act of charity is a declaration. I have the power to save you, and you exist by my grace. It heightens your own feeling of power. Pain, Nietzsche notes, is a far more sensitive tool for making your power felt than pleasure. But a well-placed, good deed can be the most exquisite torture of all, creating a debt that can never be repaid. This is the war zone inside you. The sanitized, Platonic self you present to the world is in a constant, losing battle with the raw, Greek reality of your drives. And the moral system you cling to for safety is the very thing that's weakening you, blinding you, and distorting your every perception. Most people can't handle this. They will reject it outright. It feels like seasickness, a fundamental nausea of the soul. Their world is built on the fantasy of being good. To hear that their goodness is a lie, a form of concealed filth, will break them. Let it break them. For the few who can withstand the vertigo, this knowledge isn't a nihilistic curse. It's the ultimate weapon. It's the beginning of seeing the world as it actually is. It is the mind hack that obliterates the old, slave narrative and gives you access to the source code of human motivation, first in others and more terrifyingly in yourself. So you've seen the abyss. You've had the curtain pulled back on the sick machinery of your own soul. The seasickness is real. Most people click away right here. They run back to the comfort of their cage, desperate to forget what they've seen. Good, this isn't for them. It's for you, the one who stayed. This is where we weaponize the insight. This is the path to radical transformation, and it begins with a brainquake reframe that will shatter your moral compass. Nietzsche, speaking through his prophet Zarathustra, gave this command to the future free spirits, the higher men: man must become better and eveler. Let that sink in. Not better instead of eveler. Better and eveler. The everlist is necessary for the superman's best. All those emotions you've been taught are sins. Hatred, envy, covetousness, the lust to dominate are not character defects. They are life-conditioning emotions. They are rocket fuel. A life that ascends, a life that grows in power, requires them. Trying to achieve strength by rooting out your bad parts is like trying to build muscle by getting rid of your bones. It's an act of self-mutilation. Your virtue is a manicured lawn. We're going to turn it back into a jungle. Here are your orders. This is your new workout, and it's going to hurt because pain is the only real metric of growth. First, conduct a power audit. For the next 7 days, you will become a forensic accountant of your own soul. Every time you do something good, kind, or unselfish, you will stop. You will take out a journal and you will dissect that action with savage honesty. Forget the story you tell others. Find the real motive. Did you help that colleague to indebt them to you? Did you give that compliment to be seen as a magnanimous leader? Did you offer support to heighten your own feeling of stability and power? Expose the hidden transaction in every interaction. Hunt down your own virtue and expose its filthy, power-seeking roots. Second, stop being a tame animal. Nietzsche mocked the improvers of mankind, the priests, the moralists, for what they did to the human spirit. He said they took a beast of prey and through fear, pain, and guilt, turned it into a sick, weak, domesticated animal, a pug instead of a wolf. He praised figures like Cecil Borgia, not as a moral exemplar, but as a healthy tropical monster, a force of nature who refused to be tamed. Your task: find the area in your life where you are a pug. Where have you chosen comfort over danger, safety over strength, mediocrity over mastery? Identify that cage of your own making, and then you will take one deliberate step to break it. Ask for the promotion you don't deserve. Start the business everyone says will fail. Speak the truth that will burn the bridge. Choose the path of maximum resistance. Third, forge will, don't flee temptation. The morality of the week says, if your eye offends you, pluck it out. Flee temptation. Remove the stimulus. Neuter yourself. This is cowardice. Nietzsche's path is infinitely harder and therefore infinitely more rewarding. True power isn't the inability to fall, it's the ability to look temptation in the eye and make it kneel. You don't fight the monster by becoming a monk. You fight the monster by becoming its master. Your action: identify one impulse you are a slave to: food, distraction, approval, lust, and you will master it, not by hiding from it, but by confronting it. You will not pluck out your eye. You will stare at the abyss of your desire and exercise the ultimate power, the power to say no, not because it's bad, but because you are in command. This is the difference between a false idol and true power. The false idols are comfort, happiness, and the approval of the herd. They offer the fake security of the tame. Forging true power means embracing the price, and there is a price. The moment you start this path, you become an alien to the world around you. You will be feared. You will be misunderstood. You will be called arrogant, selfish, a monster. The herd instinctively hates the one who reminds them of their own weakness. Your growth will be a beacon that illuminates their stagnation. Embrace the loneliness. It is the price of a crown. Every great spirit in history has walked this path alone. You are not just rebuilding yourself. You are declaring war on the mediocrity that suffocates the world. And in that war, you are your own army. If you've walked this path, even for a few steps, you've felt it. The ground beneath you has changed. The world looks different, thinner, more transparent. This is the ultimate payoff. It's not happiness. Happiness is a fleeting chemical reaction for slaves and children. What you've earned is far more valuable. You've earned savage clarity. You have developed Nietzsche's psychological antennae. You can now walk into a room and not just see people, but see their machinery. You can feel the hidden currents of envy, smell the desperation for approval, and see the raw hunger for power that drives every interaction. The polite theater of society becomes a comedy to you. because you can see the puppet strings. This clarity grants you a terrifying form of invincibility. How can anyone manipulate you with guilt when you understand guilt is just a weapon of the weak to control the strong? How can anyone shame you when you've already stared down the filth in your own soul and made peace with it? The moral judgments of the herd become like the barking of dogs, noise, signifying nothing. You stop reacting, you start acting. You are no longer a pawn in the games of others. You are a player who finally understands the rules. You have fought the monster within not by killing it, but by leashing it, by integrating its strength, its fire, its ferocity into a single, unified will. You have done what the improvers of mankind called impossible. You have turned poison into power. You have descended into the abyss and climbed back out, not as a terrified victim, but as something more. This brings us to the core truth, the one-liner you can't unhear, the final turn of the key. Your morality is the cage. The monster you were taught to fear is the engine of your escape. He who fights with monsters must take care not to become one. The secret isn't to avoid the fight. The secret is to win it. You don't become a monster by embracing your darkness. You become a monster when your darkness consumes you. But if you conquer it, if you make it serve your will, you don't become a monster. You become a master. You become what Nietzsche prophesied, something more than human, something superhuman. Now the theory is over. The sermon is done. All of this is just air and electricity until you make it blood and bone. Your real training begins now. Go out there. Walk back into your life, your job, your relationships, but with these new eyes. See the will to power in your boss, in your partner, in your friends, in yourself. Use the strength you've forged not to flee from the world, but to impose your will upon it. Stop asking for permission. Stop apologizing for your ambition. Now go test this in the real world. Let's see if you survive.